Back in the 70s and 80s, I worked in a smaller office with some close friends and family. We had a kitchen, a couple bathrooms and 2 large, about 3 acres, outdoor areas where the smokers would take their breaks. One guy would light up his cigarettes at his desk, finish his call, and then head outside, leaving a trail of smoke as he passed my desk. I didn't care if he smoked, but not in the office and especially not near my desk. One Monday, I went into work with a nasty head cold, and his cigarette smoke bothered me even more. I asked him about a dozen times before lunch to please wait until he was outside to light up. He always said he would, but conveniently forgot every time. Back then, when you got a pack of cigarettes, the clerk gave you a book of matches. This guy lit his smokes with matches. He usually bent a stick backwards and struck it with his thumb, one-handed, while writing with his other hand. He did this without looking at the matches. This is how I got my revenge. When he went out to get his lunch, I went to his desk and lit every match at his desk, and then blew them out. He comes back from the store and eats his lunch. He picks up the phone and makes a call. As his call is winding down, he puts a cigarette in his mouth and gets a book of matches and tries to light it. Nothing. He tires again. Nothing. He tries one last time with that book and still nothing. He's frustrated and gets off the phone. He gets another book of matches and is now using both hands trying to strike a match to light up. He can't. Note he should be outside now. He tries 3 or 4 times and can't get a match to fire up. I ask him if there's a problem. He says, yeah, these gosh damn moth-effing worthless piece of effing crap matches don't work. He says this as he's walking outside to ask someone to borrow a lighter. As he passes my desk I say, that's funny, they worked a minute ago. He gets a couple steps outside before what I said sinks in. He comes back inside and stands in front of my desk and opens the book of matches. He sees they are all black and burnt. He starts to curse me out but stops. He smiles, realizing why I did that. He just nods and goes outside. He started leaving his matches outside at the table, that way he'd have to be outside to light up. Traveled to the States on a business trip last year. It was a long haul, a total of 20 hours including layover at Tokyo. Quite tired by the time I got off the plane. The driver that was supposed to pick me up as part of the hotel package went on a clockwork countdown, sending me messages about your plane landed. If you don't come out in 1 hour I'm entitled to leave, and bombarded me with texts and phone calls. I'm not allowed to answer calls at immigration, so I didn't pick up. But I didn't reply him with a text message. After picking me up, he went on a rant about he had to wait for my flight to arrive for 2 hours. BTW my flight was on time. The parking lot is a refine daylight robbery. I'm wrong for not getting out earlier. I was late, and this entire trip will not even give him enough money to buy an icicle. He even had the guts to lecture me a new immigrant like yourself should always play by the local rules. This ain't your country anymore. We do things differently here. This went on for the entire trip. I was hungry, I was tired, I was annoyed. I tried to stop the conversation by giving no reply, but hell forced me a reply by directly addressing me. To say I was pissed is an understatement. First thing I did when I left the city 2 days later was giving him a 3 out 10 review on the website. 3 star for actually completing the trip. Didn't give him a bad review on that same day because I figured he's a bit psychotic and I don't want him to show up at my hotel lobby with an assault rifle or something. Next day, I got a call from an unknown number. First thing he said after I picked up, which if we translate it into English, would be, I F your mother. How's this? I was puzzled, also clueless, forgot about the whole incident already. How's this? It'll tell you who this is you little F. I F your mother, you effing. I hung up, still quite clueless who that was. About an hour later, I got a long text which translates to, due to your dishonesty and defaming speech, I have hired a lawyer to sue you, which will include late fees I was supposed to charge you on that day. You take care of yourself. America is a country of trust and honesty, not a place where a man without ethics, like you can do whatever you please. Okay, so it really was him after all. After a bit digging, I replied, I don't know who you are. I don't know what your problems are. but if you're raising concerns about past services you provided me, then please be minded that the Consumer Fairness Act of 2016 under FTC protects my rights for a negative review. America is indeed a lawful country, something which I can attest to when I first arrived back in 2009. Also, please cease all verbal, written and indirect communication with me. Your action is now a form of harassment. Then I took a screenshot of his text and sent it to the website. Several days later, they apologized and told me he's not their direct employee, but was hired by a local cab company. Nevertheless, they had him fired already. I was still kind of pissed till this day, not because what he did, but because of the website's negligence which allowed something like this to happen. Customer reviews were supposed to be anonymous and the drivers shouldn't have my personal information after the closing of contract. My guess is that I was a bit specific on that review and his boss figured out who I was talking about and got pissed at him. Doing so unknowingly leaked who wrote review in the process, or he did it on purpose without think much about the consequences, but still, it shouldn't have happened in the first place. Which is why I also stopped using the website's cab service. This is fairly minor, but it was fun messing with his mind at the time. I worked in an office at the time and everyone got on fairly well. I had a jar of sugar, and one bloke would access it for his coffee without my consent. When I wasn't there, everyone else had their own sugar. I'm very easygoing, and I don't mind other people using my stuff, but asking first is basic manners. So, I decided to have a little fun, and I put a bit of salt and pepper in my sugar jar. I kept a separate clean sugar stash for myself. Every time he made his coffee it tasted off. He thought someone was tampering with his coffee or his milk, and it was driving him a bit crazy trying to find out who. He didn't suspect that I would sabotage my own sugar. I'll let him know after about a week and he started buying his own sugar. I can now finally contribute to the sub after reading for so long. So last week my wife decided to take her car to a mechanic shop beside where she works for a yearly inspection sticker. Even though I told her I'd run it down to my friend's shop Saturday and get it done for free, it costs around $15. But hey, money is money. The mechanic beside her work is a little shady and I don't like them anyways, but they get considerable business because they have a good location. So she takes it over and tells them it just needs her inspection sticker and she will pick it up on her lunch break in a few hours. The inspection consists of a lot of things like lights, brakes, wipers, horn etc. and is governed by the state police commission somehow. Important later. So of course when she goes to pick it up he pulls the typical I'm going to rip off the woman scam by saying it failed because it needs new front brake rotors and he could do it for around $600. Now the car is a 2017, we bought new in 2018 with just over 30k miles. So she calls me all freaking out. I tell her not to worry. I had a rough day at work and decided to hatch a plan. I can mechanic around pretty good, so after work I swung by the parts store and grabbed a set of rotors for $50 or $60. That night I put them on and told my boss I would be about an hour late in the morning. The next morning I'm sitting on that mechanic's lot waiting on them to open. Soon as they do, I walk in with the failed inspection report they gave my wife and in my pocket the receipt for the rotors. I tell him I brought the car back for the inspection sticker and it has new rotors. He said yeah okay, we'll pull it into the bay and do the inspection, which I just smiled and said okay. He comes back out with more crap allegedly wrong with it, which is where my plan comes in. State law says once a mechanic inspects and fails a vehicle the owner has 72 hours to make repairs and bring it back. The mechanic is only allowed to inspect the components he failed and not the whole car. When I told him this he got mad and started running his mouth telling me to leave. I told him I could, but I would have to call the local state police and inform them, which would likely result in his inspection privileges being revoked for failure to comply. After him huffing and puffing, I left with a shiny new inspection sticker on her car and a good laugh that lasted for a while. I was at a car wash where the entrance is at an intersection and it's the only way in. When I came to enter the lot, it turned out that some of the traffic on the road was actually the line still forming. Lights quickly changed, and I didn't want to hold up traffic, and I notice that there's empty space inside the lot which has nothing to do with the line. I pull in and drive up parallel to the front of the line and just tell the worker that I'm behind that last car over there. What I didn't do was tell the guy in the last car that he should remember who I am. Worker switches with someone else and tells them to let me in after the car I pointed out, except by this moment in time the line started moving and 3 more cars are able to enter. A middle-aged, overweight and delusional woman is behind the last car. It's my turn to squeeze into the line. This piece of crap woman starts yelling and lying about how I entered to the new worker who saw nothing. My window is rolled down and I can hear everything this woman is saying and quickly realize she feeds off negative attention. Once she drives into the wash, she will be right next to me. I already know my next move. I ask her why she lies and she smirks because she's about to get into the argument of her life, except I don't do that for her, and the minute she starts talking to me, I just look away and roll my window up. OMG, she pop man. She couldn't get a negative energy fix. Man, it was so amazing to see her go nuts and continue to cuss and shake her head at me. Meanwhile I'm on the phone and ignoring her existence. Thank you for watching. Slap that like button and comment your opinion on these stories below. I'm waiting. Write that comment. Seriously. Have you written it yet? If you don't comment, you make a bunny cry somewhere. You're not that kind of person. I know. Anyways, peace out and catch you tomorrow.